Hello and welcome. Today we'll be making the spine and cover for the 8 1/8 by 8 1/8 album. For this particular one, I have the pages for the Christmas Carol collection by Graphic 45, but this is the same method I use for all albums of this type, so it will be applicable for any kind of album. The idea for this is from Pear Tree Treasures. I saw her video about creating this kind of spine and cover a few years ago. I really like that it's a very easy way to make a lie flat album, and I've been using this for 4 or 5 albums at this point. There is a small modification that I will talk about later on that I got the idea from a DAS bookbinding video, but the majority of the steps I'll be taking today are from the Pear Tree Treasures tutorial. Both videos will be linked in the description below if you want to check them out, and I recommend you do it. It's both of them are very interesting videos and channels overall. So before I ramble on more, we will start with the fins for the spine. So this spine will be floating spine, I think it's called. Basically, it will connect the pages, but won't be stuck down to the cover. And I think this could be made from a single piece, but it's easier, and you can use scraps to make it with from separate pieces. So I have 2 pieces that are 1.5 inches, and I will score them at with 1.5 inches by 8 inches. With the 1.5 inch side at the top, I will score them at 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. And I will do the same for the second piece of this size. So 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. And then I have 2 pieces that are 3 by 8, and they will be scored the same way. So 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. This will leave a nice and wide fin on one side. And again for the second one, 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. Okay, so we will be burnishing on all the score marks, and we have this sort of U shape now. And in the end, these fins will go in the pocket. So one will be here, and the other will be on the next page. And that's how the pages will be connected. But before we do that, I want to reinforce this a bit. And for this, you can use whatever you like. You can use Tyvek, you can use construction tape. What I'm using here is electric tape. So it's what you can find in any hardware store it's used I'm not sure what the English term is for that, but basically for electric wiring. And if you use this tape, make sure you don't stretch it out because it is slightly elastic, but then it will pull back in. So I'm just adding it here so it will cover all score lines. And then burnish it. I think you can use tape instead of this, and it would be pretty much the same thing. And don't worry about the way it looks. As you can see, I have brown cardstock, and the tape is black. It won't show, so we don't care what it looks like. Okay, and I'll be doing the same thing for all of the pieces. With something like this, because this album doesn't have very big elements, it's not that complex. If your cardstock is thick enough, you might not need this step at all, but it doesn't. It's no problem to add this. It takes just a few minutes to add the tape, and it's better to have it. And I'm not really worried. It's not perfect here. I can add it again. Just a bit here. And I've been experimenting with this tape for a bit. I've used it to create covers. So if you've watched the videos by Claire from My Creative Spirit, she has the black construction tape, and she uses that around the chipboard pieces for covers to create the cover instead of using cardstock all around the cover. I don't have access to construction tape, and ordering that from the UK would be really difficult. So I've been trying to find replacements, and I have tried using this. It works, but it has that problem that I mentioned in the beginning, that it pulls back. So it needs to be set very well. Otherwise, in the end, we'll have a bit of an area where it was stretched initially, then pulled back, and it looks bad. So I'll continue testing this out, and if I find a way to reliably use it for covers, I will share. But for now, it's perfect for this kind of reinforcement. And it is really, really cheap. I think a roll like this is about €1 or something. It's easy to get. And you'll see as we construct the spine how we hide it so it doesn't show, and we have no problems with it. One small disadvantage of this is that it's not as easy to glue down. So it doesn't, the kind I have is shiny, and I can't glue it to anything using liquid glue. And with tape it works, but it's not the best adhesion. So there are situations where I can't use it because of this limitation to how it glues down. But again, here it will be fine because it is reinforcing parts of the paper that aren't glued down. So we don't care that it's not well behaved with glue. Okay, so now we have these fins, and we want to make sure that they are folded like this, like a sort of a V shape. and we can start gluing them down. So first of all, I will use these two that are the thinner ones. Okay, and I have the first page. I will add glue on the inside of the fin. So on one side, on the outside, we have the tape, and if you haven't added tape, it's the heel side, and the valley is the one where we will add glue. And we have two score lines here. We have 3 score lines, sorry. So we have 1/2 inch, then 1/4 inch, another 1/4 inch, and then 1/2 inch. We will add glue to this 1/2 inches on the outside and leave these two in the middle without glue. And when I'm adding glue, I'm careful to not add too close to this score line. The second after I said that, I accidentally did. Okay, so to make this easier, I'm going to remove the insert and I will add this here. You can do it with tape, of course, if you prefer. Just make sure that the page doesn't go up to or over that first score line. I will show you in a minute how it looks. So here we have the page, the score line, then the 1/4 inch parts, and then the other 1/2 inch. Now, for now, this is still a pocket because I've added this just to one side. We're gonna fix that in a bit. And I can show you what I meant with the insert width. So the insert here is 7 inches, it stops here. Then we have 1/2 inch here from this. And this insert will still go in without a problem now. You can have it slightly wider, but okay, so it fits in fine and we have the spine. Now we will add the second page on the other 1/2 inch fin. So we leave these two alone and we're gonna add glue to this one. What's really nice about this technique is that you're never, there's one slightly finicky step later on, but all of these steps are quite easy to do and you don't have to worry about what you need to do, because you're always working with simple pieces and the steps themselves are easy to do. Okay, so now we have this. We have one more page to add here, and we're gonna do the same steps on the inside pieces, but if I were to add this as it is here, then we would still have the pocket here. So it would be a tube. And I want to close this down so whatever insert I add here later on won't fall through. So on this side, I'm gonna add tape. And I will, you can see that we have a bit of the electric tape going over the score line. I will put the tape as close to the edge as possible so it has most of its surface on the plain cardstock. And I want, when I glue this down, I want to make sure that the side where I added tape will be on the left where I wanted to close this. Okay. I will let this dry properly. I won't glue them down now. I can do that later on. For now, I will just prepare it for this part. So the insert. And again, glue this down. And that is it for the pages. They are all stuck together. And now we need to add these two fins. So the reason why these are wider is because this part here will go on the cover, and I want to have a bigger surface to make sure they're stuck down properly. Now, we have the last page now on top here, and this is the same situation we had before. This one doesn't have any glue, so I need to add tape on this side so we can close the pocket. It's not necessary with the kind of insert we have here, but if we want to add anything else, we want to make sure the pocket is properly closed. So I'm adding the tape close to the edge. Okay. And as before, I'm gonna add glue just on the 1/2 inch tab here. This lies quite flat with the design we have here, so it's no problem pushing this down. If you have more elements, you can open it like this to have just the current page. Okay. And we want to do the same. So this is the front page I have now here. I don't have glue on this fin. This was the first one I added, so I'm gonna add glue. Sorry, tape. I keep saying glue. You could use tape. You could use glue instead of tape, but for this step, I think the tape is easier to remove and make sure it sticks down properly for this part. Okay, so the wider fin here will stick to the front inside cover, will give us more space to adhere it on. Okay, so put it down. Okay. And now we have the spine done. If you fold it in, you can see that it stays like this. And the last thing we need to do now is remove the tape to stick this down. For this I have the pokey tool. I don't know what it's called, but yeah. So I can lift this up a bit, pull out the tape, and then just press this down. Do the same with the last one. And everything is already stuck down. The only thing this tape is for is to make sure that we're closing in the pocket page and whatever inserts we add don't fall through. So we don't have to worry about things accidentally moving around or unsticking because everything is already glued down. Okay, I'm gonna press it down and we can burnish this. And that is it for the spine. Next step is making the cover. Okay, for the cover I have two pieces that measure 9 by 8 1/4, and for the spine I have one piece that is 8 1/4 by 1. So for these I used corrugated cardboard. If you want to use chipboard, it doesn't matter how you cut it up. For this one I want to show you a little trick to ensure that this is as strong as possible. So I have this piece, and as you know, the corrugated cardboard has these lines of how it's glued down, and for this piece this is how the lines are facing. So if you look at you can see those lines. And when you cut your piece, let's say that the spine was this way, if you cut the piece parallel to these lines, when you want to flip the page, you can see how those lines will fold in, and this will not be good for our cover. So we want to make sure that when we cut it against those lines. What this means for my piece is that these lines go like this. So the 9-inch side, which is the width, is on this side, that is parallel with the lines, and the height for my album, which is 8 1/4, is on the side that is against these lines. So I've cut these pieces. The base cardstock I have is too small for this, so I will glue two of these together. And for this I am adding one strip of tape to the edge of this. And an easy way to make sure these line up properly is to use an edge. So here I have the edge of my scoreboard. I will remove this and then add the second page. Here. And for this cover, we will be covering the covers separately, so we don't have to worry about having a really long piece of paper. Now I want this line that I've added to be on the height of the page, like this. So that's how I will be placing my paper. Okay, I have this white tape that I usually use for covers. I will remove these, and for the middle of the page, you can leave this without any glue, but I like to have this stuck down as well. I have an ATG gun, and I'll just be adding some tape here. Okay. And I'm adding this to have a roughly 1-inch border around it. The really nice thing about this is that we don't have the, because we're covering the pieces separately, we don't have to worry about having big pieces to work with, or having needing a big area. This piece I will use for the second cover piece, so I'm setting that aside. And I'm using my ruler for the straight edge here. Now I have a set. This is a set from Craftelier. They're an online shop here in Europe, and they have a set of nice cover making tools. And this is what I'm using for the corners. Now this works for a thicker chipboard, but I'll be using here as well, and it shouldn't be a problem. Okay. Now next step, I want to prepare for when I will be folding these in. So I will draw a line with my scoring tool next to these. And I am pre-folding these to make sure everything will be fine when I add glue. So I will add tape here. Here. Vanish it. And okay, now I'm gonna use glue, and I will add glue on the inside of this piece as well as the sides here, because I want to make sure these stick down well. Okay. And the same for the top. Okay, now for the edges, I'm gonna pull this in, and I'm doing this on both sides so I don't forget it. And I'm gonna do the same thing, pre-fold it. And now we can just glue this down. There is a trick I saw recently where, if you see here, yeah, my camera doesn't want to focus. So here you can see there's an extra bit. We can cut this after we folded it, and this works better with thicker chipboard. You can see the edge a lot better, but we can do a cut that will remove that corner, and our page, you can, yeah, it looks a bit better, and then we're gonna have the paper matting it and it will look even better. So I will try to find the video where I saw this. I've been doing this for all my albums, and I really like the way it looks. It's even nicer than just folding the edge in. And after we've done that, we can just here, I'm not putting the tape up to the edge because this will not cover everything. So if I were to put it up to the edge, there would be some tape left on the outside. Okay. So here I have a very small corner, and I will peel that in when I remove the tape. Push that in a bit to make sure it's not okay. It will be covered by paper eventually, but I'd rather not risk it. Okay. And the last part. Now we have the first cover matted. I will mat the second one off camera. I will be using the extra piece I cut before, a new page, and do the same thing for the other cover, and then we'll continue with the video. So I've prepared the second cover piece, and now we have this ready, and we're gonna start working on the spine. For this, I've prepared a few pieces. First of all, it's 10¼ by 5 piece. One that is 7 7/8 by 7/8, and the chipboard piece that is 8¼ by 1. And on this one, I used a black marker, and I've colored the sides and the top a bit. And we will be covering this with the small piece that I just mentioned. So I'm going to use glue for this. This won't be really visible, but we want to make sure that it's yeah, I'll show you once we assemble everything how this could show up a bit, and by covering it like this we make sure it's not showing up at all. The white part here is not showing up at all. If you're making an album with light colored cardstock, you can use instead of the black marker, you can use white gesso to color that. Now let's prepare this. So with the 10¼ inch side at the top, I'm gonna score at 1 inch and then at 9¼ and twist it around. Now we're gonna have a few more scores. So we're gonna have 1.5, 2, 3, and 3.5. And I will remove the writing here. And burnish all the score marks. And in the middle here we have a section that is 1 inch by 8 1/8, and that is where we will add this piece. But first of all, I want to add tape on these, covering this and this, to reinforce them for when we will be opening the album. So I will put this between the two 1 inch score lines in the middle. Finish this and re-score. Okay. Now I will add tape on the inside of my piece, so the side where we haven't added the cardstock. And this will go in here. I'm removing the tape for a bit, making sure it's aligned, sticking it down. Now you can see here that this is a bit taller than my piece, and I want to make sure that this is, I'd rather have this be a bit shorter than too tall, so I'm gonna cut that bit off. I should have checked this before I glued it down, but this works as well. Okay, so now I will fold these pieces down and glue them here on both sides. I have this pre-scored, so there shouldn't be a big lot of scoring to do, but I also want to make sure that this is folded in. And before I glue this down, I'm gonna check with my covers. So this will go in like this. And I want to make sure that the pieces I've added now are not wider than my cover. That's why I said I would rather have it be shorter than longer, because I want to make sure that fits in well with the cover. So for this step, I will use liquid glue. And over here, on this part where we are going over the tape, we can add a bit of double-sided tape to be sure that this will stick down properly. There's a lot of space outside of this where it will glue down, but this will make it even stronger. And this is somewhat similar to another cover, which has, again, the components separately, and this is very similar to that, though you'll see it's not quite the same. And I will find a tutorial for that one. I think it's called lay flat binding. I will link that in the description as well. Okay, so I'm ready to glue this down now. I'm gluing down the center first, then sticking this down, and then the rest. And as you can see, we're covering this part, so this bit doesn't, that's why it wasn't the full height. And we definitely don't want this covering piece to go over the chipboard, because then it would block this from sticking down. Okay. And I'm bringing this towards the inside to make sure I don't move the score line on the outside, making it wider than my cover. And it has, yeah. Okay. Now, we're almost done with this step. We have this, this piece. Now, when I added the pieces, I have, because I needed to add 2 pieces, the bigger one that's on the left is on top, and the shorter one, the narrower one, is on the left, and that is beneath this one. So when I will bring the spine here, it will go like this, and it will not add an extra layer of bulk. It's not necessary, but it's okay to have that if you can. Now I'm going to use another piece from the binding kit that I mentioned. This is a spacer. It has 2 millimeters and 1.5. So I'm going to add the 1.5 piece here, and I will keep the 1.5 is a bit too much for this one. So if I were to use chipboard that is 1.5, I would definitely use this. But because I don't have, because I've used the cardstock, I will just leave a smaller piece here and just flip it over and mark where it's reaching to. So, had to take a little break since my battery was dying, but when we left off, I marked on the cover where I want the spine piece to go to, making sure I have a bit of space here, and this space needs to be a bit wider than the depth of the cover, so that when the cover is closed, this won't hit against the spine. So I have this here. I'm gonna check this again, and that's good. And I'm gonna do the same with the other cover. Okay, so okay. And I want to check this again. This is the only part, it's not complicated, but it's the only part that can cause issues. So with the cover stuck down, I see that when I'm closing this, it's not causing any issues. And I will do the same on this side. Okay, I've got this stuck down well. Pressing down, I can close it. This is the part that's different from the original tutorial on the Pear Tree Treasures channel. In her tutorial, this part folds in, but I will have it on the outside, and you'll see in a bit what I mean. But for now, I will be gluing down the pages. And this is the way I found makes assembling all of this easiest. So, the way we'll want the pages to be is aligned here on the left, slightly on the inside. But yeah, so if you imagine, here is where the spine will be, and the pages will go up against the spine. I've got here I want to make sure that the place where I marked is on the left, and this will be the back cover, and I will glue this down here. And I have all the pages stuck down together, and they will be aligned. Now, they're not perfect. Yeah, let me make sure this is facing the right way, and it wasn't. Okay, so let's do this properly. This is the back cover. This is where the spine will be, and it will stay like this. And my pages will go in like this. So this is the part that will be glued down here. Okay, so I want to make sure that this is on the center and that I have a bit of space here. I will add glue to this, and as before, it will go up to the score line that I have here. So the 1/4 inch part that has tape, the electric tape, will not be covered, just the big 2-inch flap. Okay, I will put this down here, make sure that this is well aligned here, and that the spine is inside of this piece here. Once this is glued down, I will bring you in closer so you can see exactly what I did here. Just want to make sure I stick this down properly. Okay, so you can see there's a bit of room here, and sorry about this, the camera doesn't want to zoom focus properly. Yeah, now you can see. So there is an 1/8 of an inch here, and that's good. It just means that when we add our spine, it won't be blocked by these. And we have enough room on the right for inserts or anything else we might want to add. So that is the back cover. Now we're going to do the same thing to attach the front cover. I will add glue here, and for the front cover we want the place we marked to be on the left. So I will add glue, and again the glue will go up to this part, and we will have the 1/4 inch part without glue. I have a feeling I'm making it more complicated with what I'm trying to explain that it needs to be. It's really pretty simple. And there is a bit of tape here which might not get glued down, but this is a 2-inch wide part, so there's plenty of space for this to adhere to. Now I want this, the sides that will be on the spine to match, so I will place this down and then I will push it and make sure that these are aligned, and the same on the bottom. Yeah, it looks really tiny like this, but we have our front cover. Now you can of course do this step with tape if you'd rather have that, but or a combination of tape and glue, however you like. Now, while this is drying and before we switch to the next step, I want to talk a bit about the cover size for this album. So, because this is not glued down on the spine in any way, so this will be freestanding, the pages have a tendency to fall down because there's nothing keeping them straight. So if our covers, they're basically pulled down like this. If our covers were very, well, not very, but if they had a lot more space here, then the pages would have more room to drop than the way they are now, where they have an 1/8 of an inch extra. And then they would pull at this side of the cover. So if you're using this method and want to do a different size cover, you can have the width however big you want, but the height should be close to the height of the pages, or you need to ensure that the pages are glued down towards the bottom side of the cover. Okay, so this is as small as it can get, but now when we start pulling at it, we see that we have room for it to expand. And yeah, for ideally I should let this, yeah, so this is my secret weapon when I need things to stick down. This is a very heavy travel guide. It has those really shiny nice pages, but it makes it very heavy, so it's great for ensuring things will stick down. And while that sticks, I'm going to explain how we're going to put this down. So we have these, we have one score line at the cover, at the spine, and then we have another one 1/2 inch away from that. We will add glue up to that 1/2 inch mark, and then this will remain unglued. Let's reinforce those score lines a bit. And these are not These don't need to be scored as strongly as I've done them here, but it will make things easier when we're gluing everything down. So I think for this one I will use tape. So I will add tape. And these fins here will be covered with paper when we mat the album. Again, you can make them as wide as you want or as narrow as you want. I want to have enough room to make sure they stick down properly. Okay, and this, I've added this up to the mark, up to the first score line, and you might be able to see here that there are some traces from the glue, but these won't be visible, so I don't mind them being there. If they were on a side that's visible, I would just cover them with paper or a fussy cut element or something, so they're not showing. And again, so here we have the ½ inch is left without any tape, and then we have the 2-inch side. I've tried doing it the other way around, first attaching the spine to the covers and then adding the pages. The pages lock, so the pages would be stuck to each other, and then I would just attach them to the cover, but I couldn't see easily how to add the last part. So what I mean by that is that if we had the cover already assembled, one side would be easy to attach, but then when I wanted to attach the last one, I would have the height of the spine keeping these apart, and it was a bit difficult to add this one. So I'm trying it like this because I think with these extra marks it will be easier to glue it down. We're about to see if I'm right. Yeah, no. Okay, so to make sure that this is good. Okay, so stick this down, burnish it, and then remove the tape. Because of the chipboard piece, this isn't as easy to peel up, but it's not bad. And now I want to make sure that I am like this. Okay, so we have that stuck down, and I mentioned in the beginning that there is a slightly tricky bit. That's that tricky bit, because I want to glue down this side over here. So I need this to be lifted up when I glue it. I think the way this is staying, yeah, I'm gonna go in a bit, push this forward just a tiny bit from the marked line, hopefully. So I'm pushing down on the sides that still have the tape, backing tape. I'm slowly moving towards the side and pressing this down. Okay, so now I can burnish this. I can remove the rest of the tape. So this is the trickiest, well, it's the last step in making the cover, and this is the only tricky one, although it's nothing complicated. And if you cut everything to the right measurements, there's no step where you have to center stuff very carefully or worry about accidentally sticking things the wrong way. So I think this is actually easier to do than the regular style cover. Okay, so let's see what we've achieved here. When we're opening the album, I think you can see in the video that it's laying flat. And I'm gonna show this on the like this. So when we open the page, this space, that 1/2 inch that we left here, allows the spine to move away. And as we are turning the pages open flat, and this part moves to accommodate for the pages opening. And we have, you can see that there is room between the pages from that extra, well, you can't see very well with this, but there is room between the pages. And if you wanted to have more, you could make, instead of 1/4 inch lines here, for the V shape, it could be 1/2 inch, and you could have the spine be wider to allow for more room between them. Our elements here are not that complicated, so we didn't need it, but you can definitely have really wide albums with this, or at least the same size that you would with any of the other albums. And it's laying nice and flat. And yeah. And I mentioned needing to cover the inside. This is what I meant. When you look straight down in the middle of the spine here, you can see a bit of what's there. So you can see something dark. If we'd let the paper, the chipboard, be in the regular color, you could see something light in there. Right now you can see the brown cardstock and a hint of the tape, which again it's just a dark color in the middle of the spine. But with the way it is now, it's a uniform color and texture on the inside, so it looks good even if someone's checking in the spine mechanism. So that's it for the album construction. Thank you for watching.